Okay, before we begin, please make sure you have your periodic table note page attached to your journal. You will want to pause the movie to add notes to your paper, and you will need the margins of your notebook to fit all of your notes. I've put the headings on your paper for each of the major sections so that you can stay organized. Ready? Let's begin. You did the activity in class where you did your card sort, and as part of that activity, you started to realize that the periodic table can be organized. It is organized into groups. Those are the columns in the periodic table that you read up and down. Now, groups share common chemical and physical properties, which we're going to continue to explore. As you read the table going across, we call each of those sections periods. So you can see here are each of the periods of the periodic table going down, numbered 1 through 7. Those are rows in the table. Make sure you pause and have written your notes that are down in yellow. One of the common features of elements in the periodic table is being able to divide them into metals and nonmetals. Here on our chart we can see the nonmetals are grouped right here in color, and some of the common characteristics of nonmetals, the way that you can recognize them is that they are not shiny, they are brittle, which means they break easily, they are not ductile, which means that you cannot turn them into wires. They are not malleable, which means you can't bend them or make them change shape. They have low melting points. They can be solid, liquid, or gas at room temperature. And they do not conduct heat or electricity very well. Please make sure you pause and write all of these in your notebook. You're going to have to be able to recognize nonmetals from metals. Now, within our nonmetals, there's a very special group that I want to take a moment to recognize, and these are the Nobel gases. What makes the Nobel gases very unique is that they are non-reactive. They are very stable. It's very hard for them to be, in a sense, included in chemical reactions because they don't react with a whole lot. Now, the other major group that you can find on the periodic table are our metals. Now, metals are shiny. They conduct heat and electricity. They are solid at room temperature. They have a high melting point. They are malleable, which means that you can bend them and shape them. And they are ductile, which means that you can turn them into wires. Notice that hydrogen is located in Group 1 right here on the periodic table, but it is not a metal. It is actually a nonmetal. Just a little bit of a heads up on that. Now, in between the metals and the nonmetals, you have transition metals here. And here on this area, you have what we call our semimetals or our metalloids. Now, you can recognize metalloids because they can conduct electricity under certain circumstances only. They sort of have some traits that are in common with metals and some traits that are in common with nonmetals. Make sure that you draw this yellow division line on your periodic table and that you record these notes down in your notebook as well. Well, that covers how to read the periodic table. Make sure that you can recognize your nonmetals, including hydrogen, your metals, your transition metals, and your metalloids. By knowing the different traits of each of those groups, you'll be able to identify what group an element belongs in based on things like its melting temperature, whether it's a solid, a liquid, or a gas, or whether it breaks easily. And these are things that you're going to need to do as we continue on through our rest of the work. One group I didn't talk about was this group that's hanging out down here all by itself. These elements almost never occur naturally. A lot of these are man-made elements, and you probably recognize that from your table in the book. Most of those will probably have that little man symbol on that we learned about before. Again, thank you for taking your notes. Make sure you have them all done. Watch the movie as many times as you need and pause to record your notes.